I remember I was in late grade school when that whole Paul is Dead played the album backwards thing.
Yes, we're recording, but Andy's talking already. It happens. It's live podcasting. What are you going to do?
It's Saturday night.
It's Saturday night. You know what that means. What does it mean, Andy?
We have a Saturday night show.
Late Night with Eddie Buffalo. Here we go. Oh, I got to move it over. Hang on, Andy. I screwed that up. Hang on. Hold, please. We're doing really good today, guys. We like screwed up twice. All right. That means it's going to be a good show. It really does. When that happens.
Can we restart?
Why restart? People like it when we screw up. Okay. It shows that we're humans, Andy. So, like we said again,
1 for 2 here.
It's Saturday night, and so check this shizzy out.
I'm an evil rep.
Great t-shirt, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The star in his form. You see the booze on the side? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, you got, I'm noticing all these things. They got the record, they got the guitar. On a second-hand van, in another runaway dream, paper sleeves and dusty LPC. So I'll on the Monday show, I'll go over the records that I got and show guys. I'll go to pull it out and like smush comes out.
Yeah,
it's like I'm always waiting for it going. Good honor. You can't talk. You can't do both. Which is kind of good. If you won't hear us singing along, you know.
You're safe. I'm paid not to sing. And I hate even more like the front of it.
Tune in EBT.
That's kind of cute game like that. No, they love this song. All right. That's mistake number 3 today. I played the wrong song. And Andy's like, can't we just start over? We could. I really like it when we screw up. So
they must love me. I'm always a day late and $1 short.
We're gonna keep it that way then, Andy. Let's start by talking about our friends at Pins and Aces, pinsandaces.com. When you find a fabulous item that you want and you y'all go to your buggy up in here in Texas, when you go yonder to our web hosting and all that other good stuff and all our shizzy.
There's a mystery discount.
There is
20%.
Excuse me, Andy, it's 21% by using the promo code Buffalo. You gonna jip them out of a percent? What's wrong with you?
Well,
gotta watch out, this guy. You gotta watch out.
You have to watch.
He's shifty and shizzy.
I'll go with 50. I'm not sure on the second one what it means.
Well, we'll keep it that way because it's funny.
It's probably better not.
Funnier.
What's not known.
You must have not hung around with people from Chicago.
No, I did not.
So, Andy, Chicagoans, is that a thing? Chicagoans? Like when something is shitty.
I figured this one. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, first of all, I mean, I bust my ass to do these awesome logos that a lot of times I forget to even show people. But Late Night with Eddie Buffalo, number 9. Go ahead and say what you were saying before the show.
Number 9.
And then start telling me the story you started telling me.
I was just thinking
about John Lennon
I was thinking
Frankenstein.
About the Beatles. And I remember I was little, I saw the movie Yellow Submarine, and my favorite line from the whole movie was John was this giant Frankenstein monster covered with lightning. Paul walks in and says, "Hey, how's your equilibrium?" And John goes, "Fine, how's yours?" think it was an acid joke.
So this is a very interesting thing. Did you enjoy the movie Young Frankenstein?
Very much.
When Peter Boyle was playing the Frankenstein monster,
Mhm.
he would hang out with John Lennon and Yoko Ono
Hmm.
because the girl that he was dating was friends with Yoko Ono.
Not May Pang.
I'm not sure.
Probably not May Pang being friends with Yoko. I don't think so.
So this is very interesting. When he ended up marrying this young lady,
Mhm.
John Lennon was his best man.
Okay.
Did you ever know that? I never knew that. I thought that was amazing.
No idea.
You
I
know?
Peter Boyle since has had a tragic stroke
Oh, he passed already.
and then passed.
Yeah, he passed already. He passed a lot of things. Now he's dead. He's dead.
He's joined the club, not the 27
Yeah,
club.
speaking of the happiness that we're going to talk about, and we're going to be talking about the 27 Club. So tell me and the audience members about the 27 Club and how tragic it is.
What it is, and they're not really sure if it's just cognitive, bias.
Common stuff, you know.
Yeah, confirmation bias that, we just make a list. A lot of people die at 27, but there's a number of very famous entertainers, performers, whatever you want to call them, that all checked out at the age 27. Starting with Robert Johnson, the guy who started making
That's the
blues
first person they
popular.
talk about.
Then Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, followed rapidly by Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison. They don't mention Pigpen McKernan.
I think they left off a lot. Yeah.
If you want to be technical, Blind Al Wilson for Canned Heat, but he was 26. There's a lot of people who passed on around that age of creative bent, including, Kurt Cobain, Winehouse.
Amy. Yeah. Before we start talking about the modern singers, I don't know anything about Robert Johnson. School me on what. Tell me a little bit about Robert Johnson.
He, as a young man, allegedly made a deal with the devil at the Crossroads midnight. Sounds like
There's a movie about that.
Yes,
and I've heard blues songs called Crossroads.
Yes, that's where it all comes from when you make Judith. And it was a gift to make him a guitar virtuoso. And he had gone away from home, was away for a year, came back where he was absolutely lights out. He wrote a huge number of songs, had one recording session where he laid down all the existing music we know of him. Pretty darn good, I have it. Anyway, he was entertaining someplace, and evidently he had his eyes, he was a wandering soul, had his eyes on the host's wife, and the host had him poisoned. He was given poison.
That's awful. This is like a bad movie.
Well, probably it's worse for him than us. That was the first person they
acknowledged. Right there, Andy.
After that, there's a guy in the Drifters who died at 27 of a drug overdose. I do not recall the name.
We're going to dig a little bit deeper.
And then you get the big triumvirate of rock stars: Hendrix, Joplin, Morris.
I don't know anything about Brian Jones either. Can you go a little bit more into that?
Brian Jones was the man for the Rolling Stones. He was the lead long before Mick stepped up front or Keith was anything other than one of their guitarists.
It says he was founding member, right?
Yes, he founded it. He wrote most of the, beginning of their music. He never got writing credits. He was a multi-instrumentalist, and while they were just kids drinking beer, he was out on his third child from a different person.
Wow.
He was the one who first experimented with drugs. He was very, very far ahead of him. He was visiting the factory, Andy Warhol, and
that's very interesting.
He's just yards ahead.
Go on a little bit about that, Andy. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. What do you mean by the factory?
Okay, the factory, Andy Warhol had his art. He had a lot of money. And he had a ton of hangers on, sort of a revolving doors that lived with him, including the Velvet Underground and Lou Reed, Edie Sedgwick. They made all sorts of arty films. he was not a drug user, but everybody around him was really into the 60s speed scene. And they produced all sorts of some crap, some interesting art, music,
Well,
movies, etc.
I want to step.
That was the that was the warehouse.
I want to step back 1 minute because you said that Robert Johnson was poisoned. The actual cause of death is unknown. Possible poisoning or syphilis.
It would be a big reach to have somebody die at 27 of syphilis. That typically doesn't happen. They don't have an autopsy with him, but they do have fairly good circumstantial evidence.
Now I'm reading right now how Brian Jones died. Do you remember how?
Absolutely sure. What had happened, he became more and more of a drug casualty. He got arrested more frequently and more frequently, which made traveling and touring difficult. He was unreliable, and he just was non-functional. He had progressed on where he was doing a lot of heavy-duty barbiturates and quaaludes, where just he was not a functioning unit. They fired him. He went to his Cotswolds estate. Evidently, he was having a party there with a couple women and 2 or 3 of the guys, local guys, tough guys who are kind of maintenance-y, construction-y kind of guys. And he mysteriously drowned.
Well, it's
One of them
interesting
on
how
their deathbed
how they
confessed
worded it.
that he was murdered.
So how they worded it was he died in 1969 from drowning in a swimming pool.
He was full of drugs and alcohol, of course.
Ruled death by misadventure.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
It's polite, for they didn't catch who held them under the water and killed them after a couple deathbed confessions by 2 of the men who were there.
Let's move on to Jimi Hendrix.
Jimmy had an incandescent 3.5 year career. Changed the way people looked at the electric guitar. He was left-handed.
He played it backwards.
Well, he's lefty. Yeah, he was lefty, strung it backwards. He could do pretty much anything one would want to do with a guitar. He was a very big speed and hallucinogen user, and typically they end up with problems where eventually they're going to go to alcohol and barbiturates or some sort of a downer because they just can't relax, can't stop.
That's crazy.
He also was in financial disaster.
How so?
Managers took money. He spent money like it was toilet paper, and he was in financially dire straits. His last couple performances weren't great either because he's swapping to the alcohol and the downs, which very badly impair your ability to perform. And one evening he was out with his friends, drank a large quantity of wine, went home, drank more wine, took more sleeping pills, more wine, and he overshot. The next morning he was found that he had vomited, couldn't clear his airway, and there's a little magic around how long people saw him. Was he alive? Was he dead? Should they have called the ambulance right away? Who knows? He asked where he did and died.
What a waste. Let's talk about the first woman on the list, Miss Janis Joplin. And now, do I remember correctly? You actually saw Janis Joplin?
Yeah, my dad took me to see her when I was.
Tell me, instead of going into the nasty stuff here, tell me what your impression was when you actually got to see her in concert. What was going through little Andy's head?
I was very scared of the crowd.
In what way?
A whole bunch of long-haired hippie freaks, and I'm a little kid, and my dad is law enforcement, and I'm clinging to his leg. I just remember it was loud. I remember she was very, very forceful performer. I remember it was uneven, sometimes good, sometimes bad, and I just remember the loud, forceful, dramatic, frenzied, sweaty. Those are the impressions I got. But then again, an 8 or 9 year old, I was just terrified. I wasn't supposed to be there. My mom was really PO'd at my dad for taking me.
That's awesome.
There were a lot of
stories like this.
Janis, poor Janis, what happened? She was a longshoreman IV methamphetamine user. She was a long-term heroin user intermittently and a very, very bad alcoholic. And she had weaned herself down with heroin. She had finally found a man that she and he were compatible. They both had a lot of money where she didn't feel like she was going to be taken advantage of. And they were getting ready to be married, but then he had to spend some time away from her. And she just was desperately lonely and uncomfortable, went back to heroin. She got a very potent
That's so
batch of
sad.
heroin that she misjudged how her tolerance was, because her tolerance was low. She'd been using less. And then she got something that was much more potent. And she used it, overshot, and died of heroin overdose after.
Now, what they're listing here, Andy, is the rock singer died in 1970 of heroin overdose, likely compounded
Yes.
by alcohol.
Well, she lived on Southern Comfort. She was a very, very avid drinker. He hung with Pigpen of the Grateful Dead, who was also a very avid drinker.
That's crazy. And we move on to the Lizard King.
Okay. Jim Morrison was a drop-dead alcoholic. He did a lot of hallucinogens in the beginning, wanted to be an epic poet. Rockstar was just kind of something that
Well,
happened.
if you think about it, a lot of songs are like poetry.
Oh, yeah.
I totally get
entirely,
that.
But he wanted to be regarded as a standalone classic poet. His original heartbreak was he was carrying the torch for somebody in high school who turned him down.
Wow. That's
And
awful.
His performances went down. He became unreliable. The Doors recorded their final album with Jim Morrison, and he said, "I'm taking a vacation in France." And they said, "Good, go to France, get your stuff together." In France, his girlfriend, who was an avid heroin user, and he drank a lot, she used heroin, and quote unquote, he was found in a bathtub with people around there. He got out to a nightclub alone and then mysteriously came back from the nightclub and was found in the bathtub. But people, as they've aged, have fessed up in that he'd used some heroin. He chipped away occasionally, probably overshot, because it was that same good batch. Well, it was a batch supplied by the same. It's kind of like the dealer to the stars. The guy would have very clean, potent heroin. And Jim used it. Jim was a novice. Jim was a very reckless man, overshot, down in the bathroom. Now, a club doesn't want to have some guy coding in their bathroom. It's difficult to keep a club open that way. So they had a couple of people just kind of pick him up, get him out of there, drag him home, throw him in the tub. The old remedy for narcotics was cold water and stimulation.
So is that why I was in the bathtub, you think?
Yes.
This is really interesting stuff, because I'm looking right here at the cause of death. Died in 1971 in Paris. The cause remains unknown, but is often cited as heart failure from heroin overdose.
Heart failure is just a generic term to use. He's dead. He's heart failure. It's very generic. It's used when people are not examined, not autopsy. Basically, it's pay your money, get your diagnosis, get the man in the ground, cover the scandal.
So let's move on to two modern singers, and the first one we're going to talk about is Kurt Cobain. What do you know about him, Andy?
I know that he very, very difficult star-crossed childhood, not accepted. He had what sounded like irritable bowel or inflammatory bowel disease, and he became a heroin addict and was a heroin addict. He had very bad depression, very bad anxiety.
They couldn't handle the success. They hated their songs because they had to sing them over and over again.
It felt like a jukebox. And then he got this, you're the face of a generation. And he wasn't up to being the face of anything. He just wanted peace.
That summer when they blew up on MTV, they were everywhere.
Yeah. And he had the misfortune to hook up with Courtney Love. Courtney Love had previously was a prostitute, an adult club dancer. She made the rounds with a number of the different rock people who rejected her, and then she got her hooks on, Kurt Cobain, and they had a love-hate relationship, a baby. And when you have two heroin addicts, it's going to accelerate. He would accelerate, decelerate, accelerate, decelerate. Evidently, he finally just couldn't stand it all, went to one of his houses that he owns. They don't know exactly what happened. They do know he had enough heroin in him to float a boat.
He's himself.
Put it in his mouth and pulled the trigger with his foot. That's
awful.
what's known.
That's
There's
awful.
all sorts of innuendo,
That's so sad.
speculation, blah, blah, blah. But he's dead.
And we're going to talk about a musician that we both started talking about her before we did the show today. And I was saying how I was really mad at myself that I didn't discover her until she was long gone.
Let me hand the topic of Amy Winehouse over to you because you know an awful lot about her.
So Amy, her first album, her world exploded because it seemed like every song on that album was a hit. Fuck Me Bumps, Back in Black. I mean, that girl could sing.
Yes.
She wasn't a classic beauty, but when you combine the words, the song, the rhythm, and her look, she was a knockout. Okay. And she was a bad drinker. She was a bad alcoholic, and she cleaned herself up. She fell in love with a guy, and everything was great.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the guy did not want to have children, and she was okay with that because she was happy. I mean, a lot of her later songs were about him, which is amazing. And, he strayed, and he had an affair with a young lady, and he knocked her up. And the day that Amy found this out, she was heartbroken, because all she wanted to do was have a family. And
Preferably with the one man.
She went to the liquor store, got a bunch of booze, and later that night died of alcohol poisoning, which is that's just god awful. I mean, I can't imagine what was going through that poor girl's head. You know what I mean? And the one thing that always I'm thinking about this, and I've had arguments with promoters about that, and I'm like, why are you giving these guys drugs? I don't get it. Oh, you don't understand that. They're on the road, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, they are a dream that many people want. I mean, it's almost like when you get something you wanted and it wasn't what it was all cracked up to be, be careful what you ask for.
Has to be tremendous pressure. If you want to laugh, Eric Clapton used to have a T-shirt that he'd wear. I've seen a couple pictures of him in it during the mid-'70s. No snow, no show.
So he always liked playing in Buffalo, is what you're saying?
Yes. He also was the one, if you look at the last wall, giant white thing hanging out of his nose. I don't think it was from a powdered donut.
Yeah, I don't think I know anything about The Last Waltz. What year did that come out? Because I think that's something I would like to get into.
It is an incredibly good movie. Martin Scorsese made it to memorialize the band's last playing together. The band was the band that backed Bob Dylan initially. Wonderful American music, played together a long time on the road, and then said it's time to retire. Martin made a movie with just an all-star team of people coming in to play their music and similar music, including Eric Clapton playing one of their songs.
And there's somebody that's not on this list that and I hope I'm not wrong, but that band In Excess, I could have swore he was 27 when he passed away.
That's possible. It is possible. He had a head injury that went undiagnosed. He'd had a fall from a bicycle, hit his head, and then had increasing delirium and all the other things that go with it until finally he committed suicide.
That's so scary. I feel so bad for these guys that they didn't have somebody to talk to. You know what I mean?
A lot of times, if you look at the crowd around them, they just had people who did not care about them. They cared about what they brought along with them, be it free drugs or just the buzz of being with them.
I think it's kind of interesting. I'm looking here. I'm reading it as we're going along. And do you know the whole idea of 27 Club did not come around until Kurt Cobain's
Oh,
death?
sure. Most of it's confirmation bias, to be honest. I looked before we did the show at death rates for 27-year-olds, 27-year-old rock stars, no difference. I looked at death rates for rock stars, pretty much no difference. So it's confirmation bias, but it's an interesting topic to talk about.
It is, and it's kind of scary. And I'm trying to pull up non-musician just to see a little bit of a contrast here. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. We might have to save that for another show.
I kind of went there before we came, before I came here, and statistically, it's not significantly different. So it's confirmation bias, but it's really entertaining confirmation bias.
Yeah, I'm doing this all in real time, guys. So hang on with us for a second here. See what we can come up with.
Problem with the internet is you're going to get 10,000 different versions of the truth. I'll tend to go where I have confidence.
Yeah, they're like going over the core members, the ones that we went over already.
Yeah. The best evidence I could find, and that was looking for a while, looking at reliable sites and reliable statistics. There's not really a big difference at that age. It just happens to be a couple luminaries and some confirmation bias going through. The 26 club is pretty full. The 28 club is pretty full. The 53 club is pretty full. You know what I'm saying? We just happen to have a couple people. One thing to think about with 27, that is right where people kind of have that early third of life, crisis, because they can no longer say they're young. If they're going to do something, they've probably done it already. Most people have a number, they've got a top end. You can't just come up with more and more good ideas your whole life. Most people are going to have 3 or 4 good creative ideas. You look at the Who, whatever, any band. And if you look at addiction, most of these people had addiction in the background, be it alcohol or drugs. And you look at the stages of addiction, when do you usually start? 15, 16, 17. Give addiction a good 10-year run with no financial break on it that you can, you don't have to worry about what it costs. You're going to end up at the crisis stage.
Hell of a combination.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous that a lot of people were able to see these artists. I'm jealous that you got to see Janis Joplin.
Well,
because it goes back to my favorite band of all time is Rush. And with me, growing up in Buffalo, New York, they were either came to Toronto because they were from Toronto, they either came to Buffalo, Rochester. There was always an opportunity to see them on their current tour. Well,
it's just tough to get there.
Well, here's the thing. I had really destroyed my Achilles, and they finally fixed me, and I was in a cast, and it was such a long recovery that I didn't want to go to the arena and watch the concert. I'm like, I'll see them next year. Yeah. Well, there wasn't a next year because a couple months later, Neil Peart passed away.
Yes.
So I guess what I'm trying to say, guys, is that if you enjoy music and somebody's coming to town that you really want to see, go see it.
The opportunity.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Can I tell you about a sad experience?
Yeah, sure.
There's a outdoor festival in Long Island the last couple of years, and I went to it. It's mostly jam bands, and it was sad sometimes. I saw,
In what way?
okay, well, I wanted to see what was remaining of the Allman Brothers. The only live one still really was Dickie Betts. I went to see it. Dickie Betts was so drunk, it sounded like he's playing his guitar wearing oven mitts. His son had to take it up, and they basically, this is Dickie Betts, and then son does all the work. Phil Lesh was about 6 months before he passed on. He was an 80-something-year-old skeleton who barely could move. I saw Hot Tuna, and Hot Tuna, Yorma has kind of gone around that bend where his arthritis is bad. Yorma's remarkably sober. He's sober 30-something years. He and Jack, they tried, but I could tell Yorma's voice was beginning to fail in his hands. I went to see, I'm trying to think of the other band that showed up, and you counted, there's only one original member left. It was just sad to see people who gotten past their expiration date, not to make them sound like the cart.
That's a lot of people that I've seen. The only time I ever thought that I was robbed was when the last time I saw Guns N' Roses, and Axl Rose should not be singing anything anymore because it was that bad. That, and like I saw David Coverdale with White Snake, and it was just god awful. But the reason I like doing this with Andy, we're both music nerds. Donnie Lowe too. I know a lot of our shows we end up dipping our toes a little bit into music. Is that yesterday Andy calls me, hey dude, what are you doing? Blah blah blah. I go, guess where I was? I was just at the record store, and what did I tell you I bought? 2 records of Johnny Winter.
Yes.
And we're different ages. We grew up in different places. He met Johnny Winter. I met Johnny Winter. And it's kind of a bond that people have through music. You know, a lot of times we might not have gone to the same show, but we've seen the same people.
It's sort of the
cultural,
it's sort of the cultural Scotch tape that holds things
kind of.
together.
Yeah, just like you remember where you were when Star Wars came out, like stuff like that.
Standing in a line.
You know, yeah. But and I get a kick out of going to the record store, Scott's Place in Greenville. I'm not going to bother giving him a plug because he doesn't do social media. You son of a bitch, where's your 45? He's got a shit ton of 45s that he refuses to sell because he's going to take a while for him to catalog everything. So every time I go in there, hey, you've got some of them 45s. You got them for sale? No.
There's some things that are very difficult to sell. I felt pain. I sold my record collection.
I did that long time ago.
I sold my CD collection just because I don't have a stereo.
Yeah.
And got tired of lugging them around. I sold my comic books finally. You know, things like that. It's difficult. You get attached, but then part of you says, I don't have space. I don't really enjoy them anymore, though I'm attached to them. Is this worth that? Is this worth that? And you have to make your choices.
Well, going back to making choices, remember I told you like a week or two ago when I went to the record store, I was like, I don't know if I want the Clash Combat Rock. And then I was kicking myself that I didn't buy it. And when I went back to buy it, guess what?
It was gone.
It was gone. So along with concerts and along with if you're replenishing your LP collection or starting on an LP collection, you don't have to spend a lot of money. If you go to a local record store, you can usually do really most of the stuff I buy is like $1, $2, $3. I did splurge and pay a whole $6 for Fastway's first album because it had a lot of memories connected to me to the best show I've ever seen, you know. So we are way over, Andy.
Yes,
but
it's Sunday morning.
I know, right? So I think we are really enjoying doing this show for you guys. I know me and Andy enjoy it.
Oh, I love to talk about music.
And make sure you tell us in the comments. Give us ideas for future shows. Because we were kibitzing about doing a show and I was told not to do it and we did it. So we're just going to leave it at that.
Certainly.
Even on his medical show, one time I wanted to do it, he goes, "Hey, you really shouldn't talk about that." And I'm like,
I try
Okay.
to avoid things that are going to either cause people pain or cause us pain.
"Yeah, 100%." So, remember everybody, you know, this whole thing called life, it goes big, way, way too fast. And surround yourself with music. Surround yourself with things that make you happy. Surround yourself with people that make you happy.
People.
You know, if somebody makes you laugh, that's a good person. You know,
You think I'm a comedian? So
well,
I
what
make
am I,
you
a
laugh?
joke? What am I, a clown? And neither one of us do a good Joe Pesci,
No.
but what you gonna do? But
But I can run screaming from them pretty convincingly.
so we'll see you next time. Full week of shows. Monday, Buffalo Fights. Tuesday, EBI News for You. Wednesday, Insurance Questions Podcast. Thursday, some doctor. I don't know his name. Ask Dr. Andy. Ask him some stuff, you know.
What are
And
we going
then
to talk about Thursday?
I don't know. I don't know.
I do.
I don't know. Keep it a secret. You gotta keep him. You gotta tease him with it, Andy.
We're going to talk about goat fever.
Is that like disco fever, like the disco duck?
Sort of like monkey nucleosis.
So we're out of here. Take care, everyone. And remember, life's too short not to enjoy yourself with the people you're around. And have a good laugh. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Are we going to just keep fighting?
Nah, not on this show, Andy.
Oh, okay, good.
Make love, not war.
Uh,
Take care, everyone.
I have a headache.
You gave me that excuse last week.